Welcome to the 4 Habits podcast, where we help you build relationships that thrive at home, at work, and in life. We're Dr. Andrea and John Taylor-Cummings, and every week we bring you actionable insights to create meaningful connections and lasting success. So let's dive in.
So today we're going to be lifting the hood on something that's been treated as taboo but needs to be spoken about, dealt with, and prevented. And that's safety in the home and how to prevent, how to recognize, deal with, and protect people from further home violence. And with us in conversation today is Sabrina Osso from Osso Safe. And welcome, Sabrina. Really looking forward to this important conversation.
So much, John and Andrea. Thank you for the opportunity. We're so happy to be here with you. What a great opportunity.
Yep, and so much for us to dive into. But before we do, as our audience knows, we need to give you a proper introduction and help people understand more of who we have the privilege of being in conversation with. So, John, will you take us through Sabrina's
For
bio?
sure, always a joy to do that. So, Sabrina Osso is on a mission to make the places that we live, work, and learn safer, starting at home. As the founder and CEO of Osso Safe, Sabrina blends her lived experience, real estate know-how, and creative storytelling to champion a world free from home violence. Her TEDx talk, her book, Home Safe Home, and her award-winning advocacy are all part of a single, powerful vision that every person deserves to feel safe in their own space.
Wow.
Absolutely. Now, with the clarity of a survivor and the tenacity of a changemaker, Sabrina is bridging industries, bringing safety awareness into schools, into workplaces, and the property market. Whether through her Osso Safe Kids initiative or her award from the Women's Federation for World Peace, Sabrina's work is driven by deep conviction, relentless hope, and a belief that strong relationships start with feeling safe. I mean, Sabrina, there is so much in there. I mean, your work sits right at the heart of something that many people don't talk about, safety in the home. What is it that drew you to this mission, and why is it so urgent today?
Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. We greatly appreciate that. Wow, that was so lovely. I am a survivor of violence. My father beat my mother on a regular basis. My mother would beat me, so I know firsthand how difficult and traumatic it is to live in that type of environment. You're basically living in a war zone, and as a child, you're seeing all of this and you're panicked, it distorts your perception of everything, so, and the more research I do, and people say that you almost get rewired, and it affects everything about you, how you think and how you act and how you perceive the world. And because from 0 to 6, 7, 8 years old, I believe, are the formative years. So if you have abuse going on, it's very traumatic. So, I'm a dancer. If I lived in a different type of house, I would be a dancer from teeny tiny, but I couldn't do that in my house. I had to put it off. I had to, in fact, bury it because I could not talk about dance in my house. They didn't want to know about it. It could not be mentioned. And so I started dancing late, fairly late. But luckily, I live close proximity to New York, where I was able to take a lot of classes. I would shuffle between Broadway Dance Center, Steps, and Alvin Ailey, and I was auditioning heavily, and I would get gigs. But I started writing my one-woman show. I wrote, choreographed, and performed it. I also performed it with my dance students at the time because I am a teacher, and the name of the show is called Home Sweet Home ? I play different women being abused. She goes to her good place. That's where the dancing comes in. But then she's pulled back into the terror of violence. The show ends really strong, really empowering. But I did a lot of research for the show, and John and Andrea, I could not believe the statistics that I was finding.
Mm.
So I said to myself, I need to make this into a business, a bona fide business with products and services that could really help people. So that's how Osso Safe was born. We're not a charity, we're not a nonprofit, I want to say, because violence, abuse, chaos, dysfunction in the home, it's an epidemic,
Mm.
not just in the States, but around the world.
Indeed.
So we cannot solve this enormous problem treating it as a charity, we
Yeah.
believe at Osso Safe. It must be a paid service so that way it actually gets resolved. Because when people pay for something, they take more effort and more care and more, wow, I better do something because I just paid for it. You know, I better do something. I better see it through to the result. Otherwise my money is just wasted. So
Yeah.
so that's how the origins of Osso Safe happened.
Can you help us understand what the statistics look like for those people who haven't experienced it, aren't in that situation? How bad is this?
Yes. And I'm so glad you asked this. 1 out of 3 women will be beaten or raped in a lifetime. 1 out of 5 adolescent girls is abused by her boyfriend. 1 out of 3 young people will be in an abusive relationship. 1 out of 7 men is abused. 15 million children witness violence in their own homes each and every year. That's just in the US alone, just the ones that we know about.
Wow.
5 children a day are killed in the United States, are murdered at the hands of an abusive parent, usually under the watch of a child protective service agency and the courts with the
5 a
judges.
day.
5 a day in the US.
Wow.
About
Wow.
324,000 pregnant women go into the emergency room, not for pregnant related issues, but for abuse related injuries. 80% of all runaways come from violent homes. I could go on and on with statistics,
My
but
goodness.
those are just the ones off the top of my head. And I want to say that a lot of violence is not even reported.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So in my TEDx talk, I say, I framed it as lies, what I just said, because that's not even the true picture, because a lot of it goes unreported. So if those statistics are shocking, and they are, it's even worse than that. But
Wow.
we at Osso Safe, we are very beyond hopeful. We intend to make those numbers greatly diminished and eventually zero, because that's how it should be. You know, um, uh, and I never built my company with this notion of all women are victims, all females are victims. That's not the case. There are many men that experience abuse, boys that get sexually abused by someone that they know. In fact, 90% of all of the sex abuse that happens, the victim knows the perpetrator, which means it's either a family member, a parent, a step parent, a boyfriend, a girlfriend. So those statistics, yeah, it's an eye opener for many people, uh, and it's important to know them, or at least
Yeah.
have an idea.
Yeah. Wow.
Do you know,
Thank you for sharing
Sabrina?
that.
Yeah, it is so huge, and as you said, it's an epidemic, not just in the States but in the world. And I know, in the TEDx talk, you talk about how we educate ourselves, the words we use, the way we describe women. You know, it all starts right from there. But what is it that you do to help move the needle on this? Do you work with corporations? Do you work with schools? How do you attack this huge, huge problem?
Yes, thank you for your question. I thought long and hard about this, about what would have helped me growing up. Like, what did
Mm.
I need growing up? What would have really made a difference? And so I designed the Osso Safe certification for properties. Our business is built on three prongs, if you will. So for homes, schools, and workplaces. But our focus is the home. Everything starts in the home. You're born and you go to some type of residence, right? That's where you grow up, whether it be a townhouse, a co-op, a condo, a single family home, a multifamily dwelling, a two-family home, a villa, a mansion, a mobile home, a senior community, a dormitory, it doesn't matter. It's your home.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So that's where our focus is with our products and services, to make homes safe. Now, it doesn't matter if you're going through abuse or not. We created the Osso Safe certification for properties. So we are marketing this to the real estate industry across the board. And right now we're focusing on the landlord tenant portion of the industry because that is the path of least resistance. So we're saying to Mr. and Miss Landlord, hire us. We'll get your property Osso Safe certified. What does that mean? They purchase for roughly $125 per unit the Osso Safe Home Sweet Home package. And the package consists of a policy, a seminar, an app, and therapists assigned to the property. So, just to give a brief description of
Mhm.
all of those components, the policy basically states, I, as a landlord, I promise to provide you a safe space for you to live. You, in turn, as my tenant, you promise to not act in any way, shape, or form abusively. Otherwise, you, the abuser only, gets immediately evicted from the premises. And we go into full knowledge knowing that that would be the consequences. So there's no surprise. The second component is the Osso Safe Home Sweet Home seminar. This seminar educates everyone, adults and children alike, on facts, statistics, warning signs, definitions of abuse, the difference between abuse and discipline, what constitutes a good relationship, what are the warning signs of a bad relationship. So that way you can't turn around and say, oh, I didn't know that if I pull my partner's hair, that constitutes abuse. Now you know.
Mm.
The third component is an app. It's the Osso Safe app. I hired a software company based on my specifications to detect violence-like movements and captures them in real time, issuing alerts to the landlord. So let's say you have a 10-unit building. Wow, I just saw you beat the crap out of her in my unit 2, and you just beat the crap out of him in my unit 10. Well, this is grounds for eviction. You knew that this was going to happen. You are held to a higher regard, a higher standard in an Osso Safe certified property. You need to go because I have to protect the rest of my building, the rest of my tenants, and I have to maintain property reputation. The fourth and final component are therapists are assigned to the property. So you are required in an Osso Safe certified property to check in with your therapist once a month. Is everything okay? Do you feel like anything is looming? Well, Mr. and Miss Therapist, actually, our kid came home with bad grades. We're not going to verbally disparage our child. We're not going to abuse him in any way. We know better, but help us through this. We don't know how to handle this. Is it bullying? Is it that there's a disconnect with the teacher? Is somebody making him uncomfortable? Help us through this. All of these components working together makes for an Osso Safe certified property, and our logo gets placed outside of the property. So that way, any vehicle or pedestrian traffic, they're looking for a place to live, whether they're single, whether they have children, they're married, they cohabit. Wow, I would rather raise my child in an Osso Safe certified property versus one that isn't, because in case violence occurs, they have the mechanisms and systems in place to resolve it, diminish it, and prevent it. All of these components working together makes for a preventative residence versus waiting for an episode of violence to occur. Bad news travels fast, the police come, and then before you know it, your respectful tenants leave, and then you're stuck with the abusive family. We're looking to flip the script, if you will, on all of that. And also, I want to say that a big component, another big component of all of this is that children have a say on who they want to live with in an Osso Safe certified property. Our children's book is a staple in all Osso Safe certified properties. So, and then the title of the book is Home Safe Home for You and Me. And we educate, as I mentioned, both adults and children alike. So in the seminar, we are planting seeds in the children's psyche to say, know that for the moment, which means right now, you are safe. So to kind of plant the seed that don't think about the past, don't think about the future, right now, you are safe. And we also go over the Osso Safe Kids Cheer. So, and it goes like this. I want to live where I am Osso Safe and I am Osso Safe with, and they get to fill in the blank. Now, it could be mom, dad, stepmom, stepdad, but what if it isn't? What if both, like me, both of my parents were abusive? I wish I had an aunt, an uncle, a grandparent, a close family friend that could have taken me in. We encourage this with children to speak out and say, well, do you have somebody that's willing to take you in? Because children know who make them feel safe. And they could be afraid to say at first, we realize that they could lie. They could say, no, 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 I'm safe with mommy and daddy. But we know at Osso Safe that the abusive parents, their abusive true colors will come out. That poker face is on for only so long. Give it a week, 10 days, a couple of months. Sure enough, those abusive true colors will come out and we will get that child to safety. And we also encourage children to, who makes you feel safe and free and respected and good. You kids know. So it's about giving them voice and choice and to encourage them to speak out on behalf of their own abuse. Because we know at Osso Safe, waiting until they are 18 years of age is too late.
Yeah.
They will resort to drugs, alcohol, self-harm. They will get involved with the wrong people, and ultimately they can commit suicide. Why? When you can nip it in the bud from teeny tiny and get them to safety. So I just wanted to say that that is a big component in Osso Safe certified properties, that children, we empower them with the certification.
Well, if I can jump in for just a second there, I think the program is great. Well, you start. Let's go back a second. You started by demonstrating how big the need is. The need is unquestionable.
Yeah.
The statistics demonstrate that. The program sounds like a great way to address it. A challenge that I have in my mind here, though, is how do you get people to actually go through the program? How do you get them to come to the seminars, etc.? Because I'm guessing the perpetrators, they're not incentivized to go. They don't want to go to these sessions. Firstly, they might not see themselves as an aggressor. Once they're educated, they will, but they don't see that up front. They don't want to go to these sessions, even if they do see themselves as an aggressor. I'm guessing they don't, or an abuser. They're probably not going to want to go to these sessions. So how do you cross that bridge? How do you get people educated?
Yes, excellent point. Right. They don't care to. Right. They don't care to. We are saying at Osso Safe that this is a blanket education, a blanket Osso Safe, the certification itself. And we say to property managers, to landlords, right, they don't have to live here. You can choose to live elsewhere. But we're going to see to it that that property gets Osso Safe certified, and the next, and the next, and the next. So we are changing the standard where respect becomes a required standard. And the way we are framing this to the landlord, look, it's in your best interest. You are involved, Mr. and Miss Landlord, Mr. and Miss Property Manager. So the notion that you don't want to ruffle any feathers, rock any boats, you're involved, because once they sign the lease or the mortgage contract or whatever it is, you are held to a higher regard, a higher standard, where you have to make sure that they're safe, because otherwise you're dealing with screaming tenants, children crying, police coming to the residence. There is damage to your property. I can't tell you how many times my father would punch walls, throw things at my mother, and we lived in our own house. So, but there was damage in the house. So, this is not something that is self-contained. It affects the neighbors, the apartment upstairs, downstairs, next door, across from you. So it is in your best interest to get the property Osso Safe certified. And furthermore, you don't want a murder to happen in your property, which happens. And then you have to deal with, ooh, wow, yeah, we know what happened in 4A. There was a lot of yelling and screaming. There was a lot of, we would hear things breaking. The children would be crying, but everybody kept silent.
I think
It could have been nipped in the bud, you know.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say, I think the case for the landlord is fairly easy to understand. My challenge that I'm going through my head is, how do you get the abusers, the perpetrators, to come to these sessions? Is it a requirement by living in this property you have to go to these sessions, or how do you get them to come?
Yes, it is where the new tenants coming in order for them to take up residence, you have to get Osso Safe certified. So they have to sign the policy, they have to go through the seminar, they have to check in with their therapist once a month in order to
Okay.
live here.
Gotcha.
Now, if there is existing tenants, we are saying to the property manager, to the landlord, as an incentive, it's called and this is all legal, like we always consult with attorneys before we do anything. Do an exchange of consideration, which means that, will you consider lowering your rent $25 a month for the remainder of the tenancy, so that way that tenant family could get Osso Safe certified. And then when the lease is up for renewal, well, in order for you to stay here, you have to get Osso Safe certified. Otherwise, you have to vacate. So that's how we are framing this. That's how we are resolving
Gotcha.
these issues in different types of situations.
That makes
For the
perfect sense.
landlord, for the property manager.
I think it's such a stroke of genius, a really brilliant idea to standardize it and make it just, if you want to live here, these are the standards we live to, and this is what you'll have to commit to. And we're not just taking it on your word, we're going to educate you about this. I think that is brilliant and really gets ahead of the curve with the work that you're doing. You mentioned in your education in the seminar that you would be teaching both adults and children about warning signs. For the sake of our audience, could you give a quick share on what those warning signs look like and what to do about it?
Yes, excellent question. Excellent question. A big one is isolation. So, and abusers know what they're doing. This isn't unconscious, it's for the most part, abusers are pretty calculated. They know what they're doing, whether you're dating one, whether you have married one, whether you have children with one, whether you're just, it could even be a friend, it's isolation. So let's say you were an outgoing person, you have a lot of friends, you're close with your family, or and it could be of the opposite sex, the same sex, it doesn't matter. But slowly they say to you, well, I want you all to myself, it's okay that you hang out with Jackie or with Tom, but I want you all to myself. And you can think, wow, they care about me so much.
Hmm.
Yeah, we had a good time. We had a picnic. We went out to the mall, but that's all a mask. And then it repeats, like the isolation becomes more pronounced. And before you know it, you're just with this person and this person only. So that is a big one. That's a big warning sign. Another warning sign is that, let's say you have a lot of style. You wear short skirts. As a man, you like wearing nice clothes, nice pants. You like to you just like you like style and fashion. Well, they tell you, that's too revealing. uh I'm so jealous when people look at you. So then before you know it, you start wearing long sleeves and you're covering yourself. That's another warning sign. Another warning sign is that if they say things like, um they call, and this is for men and women, I want to say, because like I said, I'm so proud of my business because we don't assume that the victims are all female. And children are always victims, right? Because they are so tiny. I mean, even a 15-year-old child is still a child,
Yeah.
But we say at Osso Safe that another big warning sign is that if they'll describe women and girls as bitches, sluts, whores, tramps, sleazes, floozies, bimbos, thots, skanks, and all the other lovely titles that are given to us. That's a big one because it makes it easy to sexually assault. Like if you're a bitch, you're a whore, you're not here at the same level. You're on the floor.
Yeah.
You're garbage. And another warning sign is forcing you to do things sexually that you are not comfortable with. So, and then it's like, you give them a finger, well, they want your hand. You give them the hand, they want your arm. You give them the arm, they want. So that boundary keeps getting pushed.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure you've heard about the Sean Combs and Cassie Ventura case, where Cassie was being groomed, clearly groomed, that poor girl. And and Sean Combs knew what he was doing, all along. I want to say another big warning sign is financial. So if they start to control your finances and they want to be put on your accounts, big warning sign, do not do that. Unless you're comfortable with the person, you can trust the person, and there's a give and take there. But if they start pressuring you, no, well, I paid for dinner and I pay for your bills. I need to be on the account with you. Big warning sign. They want to control your finances. They want to basically make you their prisoner.
Yeah.
So I hope I gave enough warning signs,
Amazing, because that's warning signs when you're in the relationship. But what about, you made such a powerful point on the TEDx talk that as neighbors or people who are observing things, we can't ignore it. We're involved because those are the same people, those people who are the perpetrators of home violence will end up doing violence in society, shooting in the schools, shooting in the clubs, stabbing on the roads. And that, you gave evidence of all the people you mentioned who we know of the crimes they committed in the public space. They were all perpetrators of home violence. What is it? And this is where it becomes difficult. What is it that we can look for, or be more aware of in our surroundings to spot when things are going out or people and children are in danger? And how do we not mess with this line of discipline versus abuse? You know, it can become so complicated. When do you become the responsible neighbor getting involved, as opposed to end up just being nosy and intrusive?
Excellent question. Excellent question. Abusers will not self-contain their abuse, their violence. It will come out. And so the neighbors will know. I can't tell you how many times my father, I mean, you could hear the screaming from down the block almost.
Wow.
So it's not like they're quiet. I mean, they may seem quiet. Like my teachers would tell me, your father is so soft-spoken. I see where you get your soft-spokenness, Sabrina. And that I was so offended by that statement that the teacher made, and she didn't know, obviously, but still, to make that judgment, it was very ignorant of her looking back, because it's such a mask. You know, abusers, they wear so many masks. So as a neighbor, rest assured, you will know. You're going to know, as long as you're not abusive. Now, if you're abusive, then you're just going to brush it off as, oh, he or she, the parent, is just disciplining the kid. I better not get involved. I don't want to ruffle any feathers, rock any boats. Well, you're a bad neighbor. Like the neighbors that live next door to me. In fact, I had one neighbor say to me, and I had called him for help because my father was beating my mother. I was a child. I don't remember how old I was. I think I was about 13 years old, 12 years old. And he came over, the neighbor. And after it was over, he actually said to me, to my face, just ignore him, Sabrina, meaning my father. Just ignore him. And I really resent him. He passed away now, that neighbor, but the thing to say as neighbors, as people that witness things, and mind you, I realize you have to protect yourself, right? Because abusers are dangerous. You don't want to endanger yourself. An abuser can whip out a knife, a gun, their bare hand, and punch you, kick you. I get that. However, when there's children, you see children, and I've done this, I've spoken out, risking myself, but I don't, not, I don't care. Like I'll know what to do and not to do because I lived it. I lived it. I'm an expert. But I have spoken out when I see, even at the bank, speak out and just call them out on it. They're going to be very shocked, the abusers. You as neighbors, you know, you have more power because he or she, the abusive person, is used to abusing their spouse, their partner, their children, and they're scared of them. But you as the neighbor, you have more power because they're going to be taken aback, like, whoa, wow. Like they're going to know I stepped over the line. So you as a neighbor, excuse me, you could say, excuse me, I don't mean to intrude. You could start with that. I don't mean to intrude, but what I just saw, that's abuse. Call it out. Just call it out. And he or she may say to you, mind your business, shut up, get out of here. Stand your ground though, because that child needs to hear you and needs to know that they have somebody on their side. So that way they don't think that they're crazy and that they're making a big deal about nothing. I'm talking about the children because that's all we're told as children. Shut up. You made me do this. You don't say anything. Everything that happens in this house stays in this house. So you as a neighbor, call it out and speak to the child every chance you get. say to the child, "You're not crazy. I'm so sorry." I'm going to start crying. It would have helped me growing up.
Mm.
If the neighbors, any of those neighbors said to me, "Sabrina, anytime you want to come over, anytime you want to come over and sleep over or just stay in my house for a couple of hours, you're welcome to." Nobody did that for me. Nobody. And it would have gone a long way. And yes, you're going to be isolated from the parent, the abusive parent. Don't you dare offer that to my kid. I'm the parent. Who do you think you are? Don't worry about that. You focus on the kid, because the kid suffers the most. And if the kid has somebody to go to and somebody that they could rely on, it will make such a big difference in their life. I can tell you from personal and professional experience. And I want to also just mention, because you mentioned it, and I'm so glad you did. And I think I said it in my TEDx talk, if I'm not mistaken. There is a big difference between abuse and discipline.
Yeah.
Discipline instills education, abuse instills fear. And this is what we teach at Osso Safe in our seminars. Abusers will say, "I'm disciplining my child." That's a bunch of nonsense. You beating your child, you verbally disparaging your child, both public and in private, you kicking them and punishing them where the punishment doesn't match the, I don't want to say crime, obviously,
Misdemeanor.
but
Yeah.
right, the misdemeanor. Let's say the kid spilled milk. Well, now you have the kid chained to a chair and locking them in their room. Oh my, that is, and an abuser is going to say, "I'm disciplining my child." No,
No.
you're not. No, you're
Yeah.
not. You are abusing that child because that child is scared to death of you. So discipline, though, we have to discipline our children. We cannot allow them to throw things and slam doors and hit other children. No, you have to discipline them, but educate them, sit them down, get them to understand, look, there's right and wrong. And I want you, little Timmy and little Sally, to let me know when I make a mistake. So that way, it's all about respect. Respect is key, is the key ingredient to an Osso safe household and a household that is safe. I think I answered the question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
you also
Amazing.
you gave a great response, I guess, to the question that's going around in lots of people's minds is, if I am an observer and I call it out, what's going to happen is usually the person is going to get abusive. They're going to tell me, "Shut up, mind my own business," etc. So I think you've done well in at least confronting that, because maybe that's not the expectation. But do you have any examples where you have either yourself intervened and called it out, some behavior there, and actually got a good result where somebody's gone, "Oh yeah, maybe I shouldn't have been doing that," or what have you? Do you have any positive experiences of that, or is it always a case of you with an abuser, you speak up and they just say, "Shut up, get out of my face, leave me alone"?
Good question. Actually, no.
Good.
I have not had where, I have to think about it actually. I have to think about it. I know I have helped the child because I pay attention. I was at my bank. I was at my bank. I was parked, about to go into a therapy session with my therapist on the phone, and I see coming out a father with his two daughters, young. I think one daughter was maybe about no, I would say about 3 or 4, and the older daughter was about 7 or 8. He was so horrible to them. He was saying horrible things to them. "Don't you dare embarrass me again. Who do you?" Loud and and the girls were petrified. So I'm on the phone with my therapist and I say, And my therapist is saying to me, Sabrina, be careful. I said, I know. And I have her on the phone, so I have a witness. So I felt even more empowered because she's my witness if anything happened. And I said to him, excuse me, sir. I'm pretty sure I said, I don't mean to intervene, but is everything okay? I just want to make sure everything is okay. And he right away said, yeah, everything is okay. What's the problem? And he takes this stance of like, he crosses his arms and spreads his legs like very planted into the ground. And he says right away, am I sexually abusing my kids? Do you see me? So that told me he is.
Yeah. Where did that come from
Why
otherwise?
would you resort to that? Why would you resort to that right away? So I said, well, what you're doing, sir, is abusive. I just want to point that out. And he got defensive. He got defensive, but those little girls were looking at me. And I was looking at them, looking at me as all of this was going on. And I just felt better that I spoke out. And he got into his car, stayed in his car, and he actually stayed there the whole time that I was on the phone with my therapist for the full hour. And then I left and I said, maybe he'll follow me. I don't know. But I didn't care because the focal point for me was those two girls, those two little girls. And also, and I know they're going to remember that because I would have. If somebody stepped in for me, I know I would have remembered. The other thing that I do is also, I have my Osso Safe Kids wristbands that I carry with me at all times. They're just wristbands that I give out to kids wherever I am. And that's when I see something off, I'll give that to the child, and they'll take it. And I hope that they will go home and look me up because we have 2 channels, a TikTok and a YouTube dedicated just to kids. We talk about safety, we talk about respect, we talk about abuse openly, and we say to them, if you're being abused, speak out as best as you can. We're working as fast as we can. If you have nobody that's willing to take you in, you're not crazy, you're not alone. We're working fast to get things better. So the wristbands is like we're giving them empowerment and a strength, a strong point, you know. And also there was something else I wanted to say in answer to your question. The focal point is just focusing on the kid, you know, at the risk of of insulting the parent, the abusive parent. They need to be told, they need to be called out. For a lack of a better phrase, they need to be put in their place. Because they are literally getting away with murder. Literally. And I want to say, you might be wondering, and this may be another question, well, Sabrina, how come you're not calling Child Protective Services? How come you're not calling the authorities? I am here to tell you, in the States anyway, and I have personal and professional experience with this. Don't call them. Don't call them, you're better off. They are horrible. And I stand by my statement. They make horrible matters even worse. They perpetuate, magnify, solidify the verbal, physical, sexual abuse of children to the point where there could be pornography, BDSM going on in the household. They're fine with it. Child Protective Services is fine with it. Judges here in the States are fine with it. I know what I'm talking about. I am going through this very situation. So
huge statement. Fine with it.
Yeah. don't bother. And I have to say, with our products and services, you won't need them. You won't need them. Everything gets resolved right in residency. When you get the abuser out and the children are safe, they can continue to go to school. You involve the school to say, look, you cannot allow this dad to come pick them up because we just evicted him or her, the
Mhm.
wife, the abusive person, the abusive parent. Um, stay right where you are. We go in with extra therapists. We empower all of the victims. And that's it. That is it. You don't need, we call the police if the abuser refuses to leave, but we have the documentation that you signed. You're going to leave if you're an abuser.
Mm.
And we have it all backed up here, both verbally and on
And in writing,
paper.
yeah.
In writing, everything gets resolved right in residency. No need to call Child Protective Services because they don't do their job anyway. And you don't need to involve the courts because they don't do their job anyway either. So, yeah.
Hmm.
It's a
Wow.
real, yeah, that those are some big statements. And I know you have a lot of evidence from the work that you're doing that would support that. But there's so much more we could go into. You know, if the guy leaves and it's the traditional home where he's the breadwinner, what does him leaving home? How does that impact the family? If it's both parents, you would need somebody to protect the children. So, and I know. Let's just say this clearly that there are people in child protection services
For sure.
with good hearts who are there because they want to make a difference. The way the system is set up sometimes makes it unhelpful,
Mhm.
because by the time you start unraveling evidence, it just amplifies the situation at home. I get that. What do, well, I'm conscious of the time, so much more that I want to talk about. We haven't even gone on to talking about adults. And, you know, I'm going to end it with a whopper of an experience where my best friend from high school was actually shot and killed by her husband, who then shot and killed himself. And the uniqueness of the situation, I don't know how, not
Oh.
unique, but the context of the situation was she was the one with the money. She owned the house, she owned the stuff, so it would have been easy to have him leave. But and there were signs and there was encouragement. But what do you do with adults? What could you say really quickly about adults before we end the podcast to help adults uh, deal with and survive and thrive after home violence?
I want to say I'm so sorry that that happened. I mean, that is so traumatic for you to
Mm.
have that. I'm so sorry. There's too many of us. There's just too many of us that have this common thread of abuse, violence in some capacity.
Yeah.
Um, so you're asking me, what can people do after they or during
Well, what can the adult,
adults?
if the adult is the one, like in her case, she was the one who had been hit before. I don't know the detail of it. You know, she lived in Jamaica, I live here. So it was just hints and stolen conversations across the distance. But what advice, what should she have done? What should we have insisted that she did before it got to the stage of her being murdered? Because,
I
and I'll
want to
just add,
say,
he was reported, he was on the, like a watch
Police
list
watch
with the
list, yeah.
police and all of the stuff that we thought would have been
before the murder.
before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Yes, see, that is the failure of the system. That is the failure of the system. He should not have been allowed anywhere near her. He should have been in jail.
Mm.
Just stay in jail at the very least. Just stay in jail. She would have been alive. Well, in an Osso Safe certified property, we believe that that would not have even happened because respect becomes a standard. So he would have been removed and not been allowed to come back. We would have extra security. We would have made it a point that she does not allow him to come back because, they'll say that they change and that I'm so sorry and all of this, and it's all lies. So,
Yeah. So I mean,
so was she getting therapy? We are big proponents of therapy because a therapist would really open one's eyes to say, oh,
mm,
wow, yeah, I better not let him back in my life. I'm not crazy. Why should I pay for his bills? Was she in therapy at all, as far
I'm
as you know?
I'm not sure she was in therapy. Maybe getting some counseling, for the marriage, which
That's
complicates
the
things when
failure
you
of the
love the
system, I
person.
have to
Yeah,
say.
mm,
yeah.
Yeah,
mm,
it's the failure of the system that, see, that the police and that just the courts, was she in court?
Don't think so, but I don't know enough of the detail of what was
Okay,
happening day to
okay,
day.
mm,
right. Yes. Um, I want to say to the adults, they have to document the abuse, and as it, like as soon as it after it happens, they have to document it. Therapy, a good therapist can help you open your eyes and to see, wow, I'm not crazy. That he or she, the victim, has to get them out and stay out, and that they have to um uh like this is a practice, and not allow them back in their life. This is very important. um and especially if they have children, you're endangering the children
mm,
even more. Forget about he's the father of your child, she's the mother of your children. That's what the courts think, that the courts, oh well, they have rights. We're saying it also safe. If you're a perpetrator, you need to lose rights to your children and lose rights to that property. Period. Over and out.
mm,
Home violence will diminish. We get this across, and this is what we're spearheading into the real estate industry. You should be allowed to live nowhere. You need to be homeless. When I put my key in my lock, I should feel like it's home and not hell. I should feel like it's my sanctuary and not a war zone. So, so the fact that if I have to worry about, oh my gosh, are the police going to be called? Am I going to be hit tonight? Is my child going to be raped? I mean, this is insanity.
mm,
Absolute insanity. The perpetrator needs to go and not come back. Either you change or you need to live nowhere. And access to the kids?
mm,
No. Because this is what happens. A murder happens.
yeah.
Why? When she's the one that needed to be alive and him go. It needed to be the reverse. Was she a mother?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I hope I answered the question. I kind of intertwined, but this is
Right.
why we're pushing our services so hard, because it would reverse those circumstances, because we don't leave it up to the victim.
Yeah.
It's about changing people's consciousness about their
that
home.
that's what I love about what you're saying is educating people to what good looks like and to hold that standard of respect.
Mm,
That home
Correct.
should be a safe place, and anybody who breaks that, they're the one who needs to leave. And uh, a lot of it, I think, is because it's kept so quiet and so shameful. And when you are a very successful executive talking about
mm,
I am being abused, and people would think, how could you allow somebody to do that to you? It messes with the mind. But being able to just be very clear in educating people what the standard of good looks like, so that the blame falls with the person who falls short of that.
mm,
And just by having that definition of good looks like respect, looks like safety, looks like no violence, it empowers those who are being abused to say, that's not good, it's not me, it's you, and,
mm,
and, and be able to do something about it.
Correct, correct. You could look at so many celebrities that have been victim. Johnny Depp, Rihanna, Mel B from the Spice Girls, and people would look at them. What's the matter with you? You're a famous actor, famous entertainer. How could you let? It doesn't matter. It's not the victim's fault. It's the abuser that has to be shamed, not the other way around.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow.
Absolutely. Gosh, that I knew it would be a powerful episode, but oh my word, so much in there. But real credit to you. Huge congratulations for the work that you're doing, and I just pray that you will be able to bring it alive in not just in the US but across the world, so that we shift our understanding of home not being home sweet home but home safe home for children, for the next generation, and for the way that we do home going forward. It's really a joy to have had you on the podcast.
Thank you so much, Andrea and John. Yes, and our intent is to go national and international for sure. I've done so many podcasts, both in the States and abroad, and everyone that's interviewed us abroad, they say, wow, you need to come here. And that's our intent, with more momentum, more exposure. Yes, that is definitely our intent. You deserve to be in a good relationship. You deserve to be safe at home. Respect, we will see to it respect becomes a that's that very standard.
Yeah. And as we wrap up, how do people find out more about you, Sabrina? Where can they go? We'll put some stuff in the show notes, but is there anything you'd like to highlight? You've mentioned the book already for kids. How else can people find out about you?
Yes, our website is ossosafe.com. We are on all the major social media platforms: Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram. As I mentioned, the two major platforms that are only for kids are YouTube and TikTok. The book is sold on Amazon as well as other book selling platforms, and those would be the best ways.
Okay, perfect.
Amazing.
Well, as Sandra said, and we've both said, it's been great having you on the show. We knew it was going to be a moving conversation, an insightful conversation, an impactful conversation, and so I'm sure the audience listening in will be touched by this, and hopefully we can save some lives. We can impact lives. We can impact the lives of children, improve the safety of their adult lives. This is seriously important stuff.
We'll end where we started. Let's work together so that our homes are free from home violence, where people can be safe in their own space. And of course, as we would say, learn to build strong relationships of respect up front, so that when challenges come, you deal with it in a healthy way rather than in an abusive way. But absolutely redefine home to be that place of safety and respect, so everybody can recognize when people fall short of that and deal with it appropriately and quickly, so that lives are saved. Thank you, Sabrina, for the work that you do.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
To our audience around the world, we say thanks for being with us yet again. And for now, it's a wrap.
It's a wrap.
Do send us your questions, any thoughts, anything else you'd like to hear from us, and we'll see you next time. But for now, it's bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning in to the 4 Habits podcast. Now, if today's episode resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And don't forget, take our free relationship skills quiz at the4habits.com/skills quiz to start improving your relationships today. Hit subscribe, and we'll see you next time.